So hill starts. Key to making them simple and easy is just to have that consistent method of doing it. So there's no difference to pulling away if you're just pulling away on a flat as if you're leaving your home. So you're going to stick with a system of prepare the car, make sufficient observations and effective observations before you move, and then move. So it's those 3 stages. So just do exactly the same as if you're pulling off from the flat, but you just need a little bit more power in reserve to counteract the gravity of the slope that you're pulling off on, and that's it. It's as simple as that. So don't overcomplicate it. The only difference between prepare, observe, move on the flat and a hill is when you're getting your prepare bit done, you're going to make sure you're in first gear, and then rather than just having a tiny bit of gas and just gently lifting your clutch to move off on the flat, you're just going to be at a bite point. Obviously, because you're on a hill, you need your clutch control to hold you when your handbrake comes off. So depending on the gradient of your hill, just depends how much power you have in reserve before you get moving. So if it's a really steep hill, just have plenty of power on with your right foot. So keep your clutch on the floor, don't do anything with your clutch, decide how many revs you want, looking at your rev counter. So it's a really steep hill, you can't really have too many revs on, just got to 2,000 revs. Try it and see what it feels like. Only when your revs are at the right place, keep your right foot in that place to reserve those revs, gently bring your left foot up and find a bite point, so you've got that high bite point with a lot of revs on. That'll make it a lot easier when you come to pull off than just doing your normal tiny bit of revs, finding a really low bite point with not much power and trying to move away. You're not going to shoot off like a scolded cat, because gravity is going to hold you down, and you're just going to be gentle with your right foot as soon as your handbrake goes down. So you can't go wrong with a lot of revs, but you can go wrong with too little revs. So just put a load of revs on, depending on the gradient, and have a little play and see how you feel. So you want to do prepare, which means make sure you're in first gear before you do anything. It's really easy just to pull up at the side of the road in second or third, whatever the gear was that you'd stopped in, and forget and just try and pull off and straight away stall again. So make sure you take that time just to ensure you're in first. So first gear, leave your clutch down, get your revs up, find a comfortable bite point, and this is the key bit. Your bite point just wants to be comfortably controlled. Don't be straining the car and feeling it wanting to, creak the brakes and move forward, because that just makes it really difficult and a rush to get your handbrake off in time. If it's a really aggressive bite point and your clutch is coming up and you feel the car almost moving before your handbrake's off, it just puts pressure on you getting your handbrake off in one go. Sometimes if you don't get your handbrake down quick enough, the car can just have that bit of power released to it, but your handbrake's still on a bit, so it feels like you want to stop, so it grabs you and you stall. So just get a nice gentle bite point, and you're at the right bite point. If do it when it's safe and there's nothing around. When you're at your bite point, take your handbrake off, and if you don't move, you've cracked it, and that's a nice gentle securing bite point without being too aggressive. So if you take your handbrake off and you move already, you don't want to be doing that, because it just makes it more difficult. You want it nice and gentle so it's easy to control and make a really controlled pull off. So as I say, get the revs where you want, get your bite point. If it's pulling too much, just lower your left foot with your clutch that tiny bit, maybe even a 50p's width at a time until it's not pulling. When you've got that nice controlled gentle bite point, it's going to be an easy pull off. So then you do your observations. So if you pulled up on the left, start off with your blind spot on your left all the way around, ended up with your blind spot on your right. Obviously if you pulled up on the right, other way. So the last thing you do is look over your left blind spot to get going. Signal, probably at that stage when you've looked over your shoulder into your blind spot, if you've got a chance to go, that's when your signal goes on. There'll be a bit of subjectiveness and disagreement about that, but I say you don't want your signal flashing for God knows how long before you're ready to go, because you're just going to annoy motorists behind you who may give way to you when you're not even ready. So just wait until you're ready to go, and you can get that overall look behind you to see when the gaps are coming, like you normally would if you're just going to pull off anyway. But don't automatically just have a big long begging signal on when you're not ready to go. So only when you're ready to go, over your right shoulder, think there's my gap, there's your signal, and then you're onto your M for your move bit. So you move, it's really important not to move your left foot. You've got that nice comfy bite point as your handbrake goes down. So if my handbrake's in my left hand, as my handbrake's going down, I'm moving my right foot gently down onto the throttle at the same time, putting some power on just to move it past that bite point positively, just to move. move your right foot first, and then when your handbrake's down, you've got that little bit of momentum. You can think about just raising your left foot just to add a bit of more power and pace to get going, but it's got to be your movement led by your right foot, putting a bit more power down, and once you've got that little bit of momentum, then you can do more of a seesaw effect with your left foot coming up as your right foot's going down if you want to get that bit more speed going up the hill. So remember, just move your right foot first, don't move your clutch at all till you're happy you're going, and then gradually feed a bit more power in depending on how much speed you want to go up the hill. So your mnemonic: POM, prepare, observe, move. I elongate it, say prepare, observe, and when you're ready, signal, move. And that, thinking about that, stops you sort of pulling off with your left indicator going, or forgetting to indicate at all. So prepare, observe, once it's clear, signal, and then move. But just take your time, that's the key. Take your time to it. Don't rush it, and it's a lot easier. So just see how you go.